This podcast is part of the Famous Original Podcast Network family. You can find us by going to www.fopnet.biz.
All over. It contains strong language, strong opinions, and strong beer. It is not meant for children or for those who think they are children. You know who you are.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Welcome to episode 102 of Dumb All Over. Recording from the hills not only have eyes, but they have races in Pennsylvania and the not-so-secret lair of New York. This is a progressive podcast with brash opinions on politics, religion, and pop culture. And we're sometimes under the influence of craft beer. Sometimes. Not today. On this week's episode, we will talk about the reopening of the United States government. We will talk about Roger Stone and a little bit of Nixon, because you have to with him. The shooting in Louisiana, new candidates in the presidential race, and then, even though he is part of that last thing I said, a whole thing based off of just Bernie Sanders. As always, I am Tom. I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Austin Cologne.
Okay. I like how I've become a legend now.
A legend,
myth,
yeah.
apparently.
A legend in the podcasting community.
Okay, fair enough.
There you go.
All right, what's up, Tom?
Hi, Austin. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I don't know if I'm ready to face down another week of the Trump administration, but
Well, it doesn't
that
really
last
matter.
story we're talking about is very exciting. So
Very exciting.
I think that'll keep me going.
But it doesn't really matter if you're ready or not, because we're going to do it. So
True.
Okay.
True.
So
Okay.
get over
Phrasing.
it. Okay. Just get
Phrasing.
over it. We're going to do it. I should mention, I promised last week that we would have our regular show up and running. Yeah, no.
Not so much.
I forgot again about Twitter time, but that's okay. We'll survive. We have enough to talk about today where that's not going to be a problem. And you know what? Give you a little less time to listen to us, because when we bring that back, it'll give you, it'll cost an extra 20 minutes of your life. You know?
Yeah.
So just the news stories today. Gary Johnson, there was a mix up. I was sent a letter that he was in one place, and I actually found out that was fake news. So he's in somewhere else. So we have to send our reporter back out to find Gary Johnson to interview him again. So it was botched. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, I'm sure he's somewhere, and now we just have to figure out where in the world he is.
Yeah. And we're going to find out next week for sure.
Yeah.
But
he's been gone for a lot of weeks, though.
He has, yeah.
Hopefully he got out of that box he was in.
Hopefully. I don't know if I would use the word hopefully. Austin, how have you been?
I've been good.
I'm just waiting for him to announce his presidential run. Like, he's going to do it, right? Is he going to go? No. Is he going to? With the Libertarians, because I think they're a political party. I think they have to, vote on who's going to lead the Libertarians. But are the Libertarians going to trust him again?
I don't know.
3
and
times
the thing
in a row?
isn't there an inherent irony of a party electing somebody to lead something that they want to get rid of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's funny and pretty stupid.
Yeah.
It's funny and stupid.
It's like there was a scene in a movie called Stranger Than Fiction where they're like, I thought maybe you were part of an anarchist group. Mm-hmm. And the girl was like, anarchists have groups?
That makes
and
no
he's
sense.
like, yeah, sometimes they have groups.
It's
She's
organized.
Like, they assemble?
It's organized.
Yeah, it's like, and she's like, doesn't that defy the whole point?
Yeah.
Because it does.
It does.
And I was the same with libertarians. They want to elect somebody to lead the federal government, the thing they want to get rid of.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb when you put it that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, listen, we've wasted enough time talking about Gary Johnson. This has been a pretty interesting news week. To say the least. We picked out a couple of topics that are more important than the others. Of course, as always, there's going to be other topics that we could have talked about, but
there's a million. Yeah.
It is time to enter The Trump Report.
Have I done a good job? Have I done a good job?
Not at all. Probably the least of anybody you've ever met.
There's nobody that understands the horror better than me.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
I guess we have some good news to report to start, which is it's a rare thing. You know, we could have actually let off with another mass shooting. There's only been 8 of them this year already, but
only 8. So
only 8. You know, only 8 in the first 27 daes of the month. But
there's
that's
only
okay.
been like 8 in the past 30 years everywhere else.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. And like 0 in Australia. But the government has reopened, Austin.
Have they?
Nancy Pelosi caved in. She choked. She gave in to Trump's demand.
Wrong.
Hold on.
I totally didn't get anything I wanted.
I'm being told that's inaccurate.
Yeah, it is.
That's not. So Chuck Schumer, he fucked everything up. He came in. He spoke for the first time in 25 years. And wait. Oh, I'm also getting that's not accurate.
No, he's still silent.
Paul Ryan?
Paul Ryan doesn't even work in the government anymore.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting mixed signals. Gary Johnson. It was Gary Johnson. No, it wasn't.
That's where he was. He brokered the deal.
So what happened?
No, he didn't.
So what happened?
Look, it was making me look bad, so I said, whatever, we'll open it for 3 more weeks. 3 weeks, it's all you get.
Oh, that's
and
it.
And then I'll declare my presidency an emergency.
We already did that 2 years ago, don't worry. Well, what's this article? From HuffPo. Trump on defense
Fake
as conservatives say he caved on shutdown. He caved on his own shutdown.
Look.
Oh, that's not
I had
good.
to do something. The polls were very bad for me. And I have the best polls, only the best.
Yeah.
And this was not one of them.
No.
So I had to open the government again and agree to something that was already proposed on December 19th.
Oh, yeah.
And had I agreed to it, then we could have avoided this whole thing.
Yeah, and had people pay,
Oops,
get paid.
did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Mr. President, quote unquote. All right. Well, let me ask you this. No problem. Let me ask you this question. When somebody says somebody caved in, what does that normally mean? What do you think caved in means?
Well, after seeing American History X, I only have a bad connotation of that phrase, but caved in usually means that they gave in to their position. They didn't get anything in return.
Interesting. So when Trump insists that he didn't cave to anyone and the standoff with the Democrats was far from over, he's misunderstanding caved in, I think. Is that fair to assume?
Lying.
Yeah. Oh, he's lying.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this comes from the HuffPo. No retreat, no surrender is how President Trump frames his decision to temporarily reopen the government while still pursuing a border wall deal. Interesting.
Steel slats. That's what we're calling it now.
Yeah, steel sluts. That's
Steel sluts.
name of your new porno.
Yep.
Steel sluts. Yeah, they're all dressed in like iron armor. They're all medieval soldiers. But some of his conservative backers have a different take. Certain words such as pathetic and wimp have been used in the last couple of days. Other Trump supporters seem willing to give Trump the benefit of the doubt, yet they insist that any ultimate government funding deal that President signed must include money for a wall.
I love having friends with benefits of the doubt.
Yeah. We'll talk about another one coming up in a second. Trump defended himself Saturday from the conservative backlash to the decision to end his 35-day partial government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history, without money for his promised border wall. He said if he didn't get a fair deal from Congress, the government would shut down again on February 15th. Or he would use his executive authority to address what he has termed the humanitarian and security crisis on the southern U.S. border.
Southern U.S. border.
Yeah. Now, biggest Trump fan, Ann Coulter, had something to say.
Oh, she's not the biggest Trump fan anymore.
No. Now, she is a conservative commentator, and she's a big wall supporter. She called Trump the biggest wimp ever to occupy the Oval Office, even going as far as saying George Bush Sr. is no longer the biggest wimp in U.S. history.
What?
Yeah.
He's not even alive. He couldn't even beat life.
I know, and that got her some backlash. Obviously, like he just died, and she's attacking him. It's
No.
yeah.
Well,
No,
technically,
but
she's
Republicans-
complimenting him now, I guess.
Yeah. Sure.
Because she'd always called him a giant wimp.
You're right.
So-
You're right. But now that he's dead, she took that away. But
No.
it's quite funny because he did cave in. And and this is gonna fucking make half of our audience no longer listen to our show. And I'm sorry if you're a super progressive. I really am. But you have to give Nancy
Sounds
Pelosi
like a
some credit.
superhero. Super progressive. You, citizen, now you have health care.
Well, I used to think that I was extremely left. And then I met some of these super progressives and I'm like, oh, I'm like a center progressive.
I don't know. I don't think being ignorant of the political process makes you further left. I just think it makes you more ignorant of the political process.
Which I happen to agree with, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. This is a case like, for example, I'm willing to give Nancy Pelosi credit is something that I think those super progressives would never do.
Also being incredibly dogmatic, not terribly progressive. Just saying.
Very true.
And the thing is, I disagree with a lot of what Nancy Pelosi does.
Of
In
course.
this case, she did a good job.
She did a very good job. She didn't budge. She did increase the offer, but not enough to get Trump to win knowingly. And she's not a stupid person. You can say whatever you want about her, but she's not. She's a very intelligent person.
And here's the thing: in the House of Representatives, is there anybody further left than AOC?
I would argue that she is the furthest left.
And who did she vote for Speaker?
I believe she voted for Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
And there was
Shut the
Barbara
fuck up
Lee
already.
that was running. So
Yeah. So just everybody shut up.
yeah.
Look, there are things that Nancy Pelosi does that are
course.
fucking infuriating.
But she
Like the
nailed
whole
this.
thing with not having the like a real committee for climate change.
Oh yeah,
that's fucking
that
ridiculous.
was a problem. That was a problem.
But in this case, in a standoff with a giant man-child, she did a good job.
she did.
And you could tell because somebody who wasn't doing a very good job, Chuck Schumer, you could see the contrast. Like imagine if he were the person that Trump was going against instead of Pelosi. There probably would be some kind of border wall funding and we'd have like 7 steel slats going up right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I don't see how you could even fault her for how she handled this. She did a great job.
You can't. I don't think you can. You can go after Pelosi for those things, the things that she's done in her past. But for this current situation, she forced Trump's hand. Trump's approval rating amongst his own party was starting to drop at a ridiculous rate. In his
Into
own
the
party,
low
his own
80s.
base. And this wouldn't have happened if she did not have a backbone and she gave in to Trump's demand.
Yeah.
If Trump won,
Like a certain spineless senator from New York.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, that would have been over a long time ago. So I think she deserves some credit here, despite the fact that I know those uber progressives are going to be fucking freaking out about that. I don't really care. She deserves the credit in this one. But now there is that factor that we should talk about. February 15th is not far away.
No, it's not. So we could just be doing this all over again.
And I'm almost willing to bet we are.
And it's like, does the president not know when Groundhog Day actually is? If we want to repeat the same thing over and over again.
To be honest, I don't know when Groundhog Day is either. I think it's the stupidest thing that's ever been
Don't
invented.
worry, you're not the only one.
Yeah, and that's something I don't care
From
about. Like, I'll never learn.
Plyometric Phil or whatever his name is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Punxsutawney.
Yeah. I'm not even going to say that word. That is from a redneck state.
The state that voted for you.
And I love them. I love my rednecks. I love the uneducated.
Trump tweeted, "This was no way a concession. It was taking care
As
of
he was conceding.
as he was conceding. Yeah, it was taking care of millions of people who were getting badly hurt by the shutdown.
By you,
with the
the
understanding that in 21 days, if no deal is done, it's off to the races. So a couple things. One, you're the one who shut it down. You're the one who hurt them. You're the one that's causing them for not getting paid and making them have to get food stamps. Number one. Number two, with the understanding that in 21 days, the deal, if there's no deal, it's done. Said who? Did the American people agree to a 3-week reopening?
No. Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think they did at all.
No.
What? And then it's off to the races. It's a game to him.
Off to the races so I can build my whatever we decide.
But it's a game. It's an absolute game to him.
Yeah, everything. Well, it's all about making him look good. It's all about his image.
If no deal
and
is
he
done,
knows
it's
he
off
really
to the
fucked
races.
this up.
Yeah. Well, so what? In his head, he thinks that shutting down the government again in 3 weeks is going to make his approval rating go back up among his party. Hello.
No, well, he just wants that wall. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because here's the secret.
But he's going to have to shut it down again.
I know.
He's going to have to.
But here's the secret, and Ann Coulter actually said this on Bill Maher's show, which, fuck you, Bill Maher, for having her on.
I know. Constantly promoting hate, but whatever.
I know. But she did make, I think, a salient point, is that...
What? Really?
Well, yes.
Man,
wow.
because
Because she's mad at Trump now, so she's giving away opposition research.
Okay.
She said, and I think it's true to an extent, that like all of the Russia stuff is, well, she didn't say it's important. I think it's important, but it's not going to play to people's needs.
No, it's not.
But if he doesn't deliver on the only concrete, pun intended, thing that he promised during his campaign,
Meant to say
steal
steal.
stats. Yeah. If he doesn't deliver on that one, it's the only promise he actually made.
Right. Yeah,
the only one that he talked about every single night for 2 years.
That was the big one. That was the big one that gained him a lot of traction. Was this idea of a big
if he
border wall.
doesn't deliver on that, he's going to lose his support. And I think that's what Democrats need to remember.
But I'm just trying to put myself in the head of Donald Trump, and it's a hard thing to do because he doesn't have anything going on up there anyway. But if he shuts down the government again in 3 weeks, which if he's a man of his word, he's going to, because the Democrats are not going to strike a deal in the meantime.
No, I don't think he'll do that. I don't think he'll shut it down. I think what he's going to do is try the declare national emergency route. I think that's what he's going to do.
But that's not going to really do anything.
Well, it'll get it to the courts, and if it gets up to the Supreme Court, anything could happen.
Anything could happen, I guess.
Because he has his boys there.
But I wonder, because...
And then they're going to have to call in Kavanaugh.
Right.
And be like, yeah.
So, all right.
It's like, Brett, you got to come in and, you got to live
I'm
Ski
hanging with
and
Squee.
Sniffly Pete. Yeah.
But I'm hanging with Squee this night. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I got to write my calendar. But, all right. But I'm confused by a couple. Well, first of all, I got to set this up. Because before
Set the scene. Go ahead.
Before this agreement happened, or before Trump caved in, I should say, the Republican proposal went to the Senate. The Senate or the House? The House? The Senate? The Senate, right? Yeah, the Senate.
Well, if it's a Republican proposal, I imagine it went to the House because
I forgot.
There's no Republicans in the House anymore.
It happened so quickly that I
which I'm very used to.
Amen to that. But it got eliminated. Like, it was a dead on arrival bill.
Yeah, of course.
Then the Democrats proposed the bill
because it probably had like a
yeah, it was ridiculous.
Probably to name tag all the Negroes or something.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh, it says right here.
Well, Republican bills. some crazy provision.
Oh, it's probably something crazy. Then the Democrats put up a bill right after, and that got killed too. But 6 senators. It's senators, by the way.
Republican senators, yeah.
6 Republican senators voted with the Democrats. They turned on Trump and his Republican bill, and they voted for the Democratic bill. The one that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have been working on, the one that was supposed to be the deal. So 6 Republicans turned, no Democrats turned. Even Joe Manchin. Like, what?
Yeah. Shockingly enough, yeah.
So I wonder what that does if he does announce a national emergency. Because it doesn't look like he has the full support of the Republican Party anymore.
But it doesn't matter, because he's saying if he declares a national emergency, it's a unilateral move.
Right. I
so
get
he doesn't
it.
need Congress.
No,
So
I'm not
matter.
saying he needs it. I'm just saying that if the Senate turns on him at this time, with all the shit that's going on in these investigations and all that, him announcing a national emergency, could it not be the one deciding factor that ends this whole madness?
I don't know.
If he pisses off enough people, and the Republicans are now worried that they're not going to get reelected.
I just don't think you'd see 2/3 of the Senate turn on him.
I don't know.
Because the Republicans are stubborn till the end, and I think they're going to back him until the end. I don't know what the end's going to be, but, so I just don't see that happening. But he could lose a lot of support, and ultimately, I think it actually wouldn't. Because even though he has the Supreme Court, they have a longer-term view than he does because they're lifetime appointments.
Sure.
So they realize that, if we give him this ability to declare an emergency for one of his, campaign promises, any president could do that.
Right.
And if you have, President, let's say, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she's like, what's an actual emergency? The fact that in 2 years at this time, the planet could be destroyed. So declare a national emergency. Guess what? We're nationalizing all of the oil and gas refineries.
Yeah. Or you can, or anything, healthcare, marijuana, anything that Republicans typically don't stand for.
It's like 40 million people without health care. Guess what? That sounds like a national emergency to me.
There actually is a national emergency with that. And with marijuana, there's a national emergency with that too. There's millions of people being thrown up in jail for marijuana charges. That's a national emergency, in my opinion.
And that's why if I were Trump, I would be worried because the Supreme Court has a longer view.
I don't think Trump is wise enough. I don't think his cabinet is wise enough to realize that either.
Well, I think his cabinet is. It's just that he doesn't listen to what they tell him. I think they'll be sitting there going, look, if we allow him to do this, that sets precedent to let any president do this.
Right.
Then in the future, they might actually make life better for people, and we have to prevent that at all costs.
yeah, we got to stop that from happening now. Yeah,
Now, if we're done here, I'm going to go hang out with Donkey Dong, Doug, and Squee. Okay?
We're done, Brett. All right, so let's do a quick prediction before we move on. First question of this prediction: will the Democrats and Trump strike a deal before the 15th of February?
No.
Will the government shut down after February 15th?
Probably. I don't think it'll be as long this time, but yeah, I think so.
And will he declare a national emergency?
Yes.
You think that's guaranteed? Mm-hmm. Is that the only thing guaranteed out of those three questions?
I think so, yeah. I mean, if they do come to some, I don't know what agreement they could come to that
they're not gonna, because the numbers are way too different. They're just too
different.
The
thing is, there's no political expediency for them to do so.
No.
So the only one who has his political future on the line here is Trump. And he knows it.
Well, yeah.
And that's why he's really digging in on this, because he knows that's the one issue. And I keep saying this. That's the one issue that his supporters will abandon him for. And they've even said that in surveys. They had hypotheticals and they say, if he does this, will you stop supporting him? And it's always no until you get to that stupid fucking wall.
I know.
And then it's a yes. So I'm hoping that,
it's just
come 2021 in January when we're swearing in President Sanders that
so save that for like a half hour from now. Okay. So anyway, that's our update with the government for now. We're reopened. We are until the 15th, where this is going to continue to be dramatic. Every single week, we're probably going to have something that happened related to this. So
I've kept this season of The American President very exciting.
Yes. Yeah. This is why, even if Kevin Spacey didn't have his problems and House of Cards was still going on, the show would have had to end, because they can't be better than what's going on for real. No, they can no. They just couldn't. Close. They could not do it. What seemed at one point like unrealistic is like, oh no, that's like the G-rated version. I have to say, I still think Frank Underwood would have been a better president than Donald Trump. I don't know anymore. I used to say that, but I mean, well, you have Kevin Spacey aside. You can't, because I guess you can, because in the show he did a little kids. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if you're just looking at his policies, I mean, he made America Works. That's a big program. It was a progressive movement. Yeah. So, I mean, come on, compared to Trump? Yeah. Well, let's talk about somebody who is not working in America at this point. Roger Stone.
Right.
So Roger Stone's been in a little bit of trouble. Longtime confidant of President Donald Trump was indicted last week in connection with Special Counsel Robert Mueller.
We barely know him.
And
he
his
just
Russian
got the coffee.
investigation. No, yeah. Oh, yeah. Really high level coffee guy, right?
Very good coffee. Never sure what was in it.
No, you can't do that. I bet you it has Russian milk in it. Russian salt. Russian
Vodka.
sugar. What do Russians make besides the vodka?
Yeah, that's what it would have been in it. Vodka.
Just vodka.
It was a white Russian.
So obviously, how many? What is this? I don't know what the numbers off the top of my head. I should have probably found this out. But how many have been arrested now or indicted at least?
Oh, it's a big number.
It's
in
quite
double
big, right?
digits, I think. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of connections here that I just wanted to bring up because I'm sure everyone's heard enough about this Roger Stone shit, so I don't want to drag this one on as much as the government reopening. But Roger Stone worked with Trump, recently indicted. But it wasn't just Trump that he worked for. Austin, who else did he work for?
I believe he worked for the Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Oh, wait. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a weird connection to have. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here because
Okay.
I have to mention this. He gets out of court or after his bond, after he paid his $250,000 bond. And do you remember, what did he do, Austin? What did he do? And we can ask why, but we don't really care about the why. What did he do? Did you see?
I did not see. What did he do, Tom?
Oh, you didn't see?
No.
He goes out of the courthouse and remember that
Wait,
famous...
can I guess? Can I guess what he does?
Yeah, please.
Does he hold a press conference?
He holds a press conference, yes.
Okay.
But before that, he comes out of the courthouse, and now just think of that famous picture of Richard Nixon with the peace sign.
Does he do the double peace sign?
He does the double peace sign in front of the crowd.
And he told them that he wasn't a crook.
Now, I don't know if he thought that was going to be a pro-Roger Stone crowd, but as
And he's like,
doing
where's
his-
my helicopter?
Yeah, no helicopter.
Yeah.
And the people that were there were chanting, lock him up, which was fantastic, by the way.
Yes, it was fantastic, yeah.
A federal grand jury, let's see, impaneled by Mueller's charge Stone in a seven count indictment.
Who, by the way, seem to have been there forever. That's just their job now. They're the federal grand jury.
It seems like it, yeah. I think they just live there. They pitch tents inside the courthouse. It's crazy. It's crazy. A 7-count indictment that alleges Stone spoke to senior Trump campaign officials about WikiLeaks and information that it might have had that would have been damaging to the campaign of Trump's Democratic rival, Hillary Clinton. Stone was contracted by senior Trump campaign officials to inquire about future releases by WikiLeaks. And that was just one of the things, by the way. FBI agents on Friday arrested the eccentric 66-year-old Trump
Totally
associate
eccentric.
at his home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He later appealed in court on Friday with his ankles and waist shackled before being released for $250,000 bond.
By the way, why do all these crazy people end up in Florida? Like,
You know,
seriously,
that's
is there
a
something
good
there
question.
that, like,
Okay,
it's like a crazy magnet?
it's weird, but I watch a lot of I think I watch a lot of these like crime shows, these real crime shows. Like I can't wait to sit down and binge through that Ted Bundy tape thing. But even Ted Bundy, for example, was imprisoned in Florida.
Florida, yeah.
He made his way down to Florida.
What was that whole Florida man meme?
Pedophiles make their way to Florida. Mass murders.
Yeah, well, it's like the newspaper always has that thing where it's Florida man does, and then whatever's after that is something like incredibly insane.
It's really strange.
Like Florida man snorts meth from inside of dead alligators.
That sounds like a Floridian thing to do,
Yeah,
though,
I
doesn't
know.
it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what it is about Florida that does that, but you're not wrong. A lot of weird and crazy people, the really bad people, have made their way down to Florida.
You know who else is there? I believe in West Palm Beach, if I'm not mistaken. It is, there's Trump, obviously, in Mar-a-Lago.
Well, that's true, yeah.
And Rush Limbaugh is also down in Florida.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know he lived down there.
Yeah.
To be honest, I thought he died. I haven't heard about him in a long time.
Tom, don't talk about a brighter future yet. He's still alive.
Stone on Sunday told ABC that he would also testify honestly about any of his communications with Trump if asked. Yeah, right. Quote, "It's true that we spoke on the phone, but those communications are are of a political nature, and they're benign," he claimed. "There's certainly no conspiracy with Russia."
Like Kellyanne's face.
Ouch. He said, I never discussed any of these matters with the president. He claimed everything I did regarding trying to get as much public attention to the WikiLeaks disclosures among voters, among the media, is constitutionally protected free speech. That's what I engaged in. It's called politics. So, all right, he's not wrong. But the thing is, Robert Mueller would not have put up 7 federal indictments for that. If that's all he did, all he did, yeah, he's protected by free speech. He's allowed to do all that stuff. He's a Republican strategist, so he's allowed to strategize with President Trump and all that. But he wouldn't be indicted for that.
Yeah, but here's the thing: all the things he said are protected by free speech laws, but he might cooperate with the special investigator.
And that's where this article comes in. So this also comes from the HuffPo. Sorry, it's a HuffPo-centric thing today. Roger Stone says he hasn't ruled out cooperating with Robert Mueller. So now you open up an entire new can of worms here. Now you're innocent. Oh, I'm innocent.
So don't worry, Roger. You don't have to wait for the worms anymore. They're here.
They're here. Because if you're willing to cooperate with Robert Mueller, something's there.
No.
Robert
By the
Mueller
way, that's
hasn't
a deep
been
cut,
wrong yet.
all you Pink Floyd fans.
Say again?
Huh? So that's a deep cut for all the Pink Floyd fans.
Wait, what did I say?
You got to get into the second half of the wall for Waiting for the Worms.
Oh, Waiting for the Worms. Oh, yeah.
Song.
Oh, yeah. And then there's the judge.
And it's that Roger, yeah, not Roger Stone.
Right, yeah. Just about as crazy, but not as corrupt. By the way, I forgot to mention, it's silly me, but Roger Stone has a tattoo of Richard Nixon between his shoulders and his back. Just wanted to make sure I made that clear. That'll
give a cellmate something to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to love that, especially the older imprisoned ones who might have had Nixon as a president.
Yeah. Or been imprisoned by Nixon because they were political opponents. Yeah.
Oh, God. That'd be
in
weird.
A federal prison because that's what Nixon ran, the federal government.
I would put him in the same cell, honestly. I think that'd be funny. But anyway, there's not enough to this yet, except for the fact that he was released on bail and on bond and all that. But now the Nixon Foundation scrambles to distance late president from Roger Stone.
So even from the grave, Nixon's like, it was not mine.
Even Nixon from the grave is sitting there like, this is a little too much for me. Yeah. All I did was hack into DNC.
He most certainly is a crook.
Yeah. Like, listen, not giving Nixon a pass. What he did was wrong, obviously. But
incredibly wrong. The thing is, though, the thing that he almost got impeached for wasn't even the worst thing he did.
I know. Which is very typical of our government.
Politics, yeah, I know.
But it is funny to me that I would look at Nixon now and compare him with Trump and be like, oh, yeah, Nixon all the way.
And Nixon did normalize relations with China.
Yeah.
And Trump has just stroked the ego of North Korea. So.
The Nixon Foundation, I'm not going to drag this on. I'm just going to read this one tweet from the Nixon Foundation on Twitter. It said, this morning's widely circulated characterization of Roger Stone as a Nixon campaign aide or advisor is a gross misstatement. Mr. Stone was 16 years old during the Nixon presidential campaign of 1968 and 20 years old during the re-election campaign of 1972. And that's the first half. And they said, Mr. Stone, during this time as a student at George Washington University, was a junior scheduler on the Nixon re-election committee. Mr. Stone was not a campaign aide or advisor. Nowhere in the presidential daily diaries from 1972 to 1974 does the name Roger Stone appear. Whatever. He's still associated with Nixon.
I know.
It doesn't fucking matter. Like, yeah, you can, fine, draw the line there. But when I was 16...
Although it wouldn't shock me if you check that scheduling that he did if it wasn't like break into the Watergate Hotel.
Oh, yeah. It didn't surprise me at all.
It's like, it wouldn't surprise me
if he changed his name. Yeah, Roger Stone might not appear, but Peter Parker might have.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who
Or
knows?
Roberto Stone.
But this doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, there you go. Appeal to those Hispanics.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Austin, it doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter. By the way, when I was like 16, 17, I was campaigning for Tom Wolfe of Pennsylvania. I was around that age, maybe a little older, but same age. I helped out Tom Wolfe, so you can be related to the. It's just funny the association is all.
Yeah.
Also, one last thing on this. Chris Christie even says that the indictment is pretty damning. And when Chris Christie is saying, "Uh-oh, you're in trouble," just saying.
Yeah.
I know that was really cheery news, Austin, but I'm gonna have to bring it down.
So cheery. You did such a good job, Tom.
We have another mass shooting. Now, actually, we've had a couple. This is just the most recent one, and I don't want to make this the crime podcast here, so we're just going to briefly talk about this. Man,
otherwise we're gonna have to start playing the serial music.
I know. Man suspected of killing 5 in Louisiana has been arrested in Virginia, sheriff has reported. Officials believe that Dakota Therio, maybe it's whatever. Thoreau, yeah. Whatever.
I don't know, how's it spelled?
Theriot. It's like the riot.
Yeah, I don't know what it'd be.
Maybe it's Thoreau. It could be.
Usually Thoreau's with a UX at the end.
Whatever. I don't care. 21 years old. Killed his parents and then 3 others before going on a run.
Wow.
On the run.
Not just on a run.
Yeah, no, on the run.
It's like, excuse me, I got to get my miles.
He just decided to jog afterwards. A man wanting in the shooting deaths of 5 people in Louisiana has been arrested. He was taken into custody in Richmond County on Sunday morning. He is expected to return to Louisiana and booked on 2 counts of first-degree murder, home invasion, and illegal use of weapons. At least, and this was from the previous report, so because this is all I really know about this. At least,
and he's an illegal immigrant, right?
No.
No?
Is he?
What?
Is he Islamic?
He must be, right?
Yeah. No.
What?
No, I'm sorry. He's a Christian.
Oh, then he's just a misunderstood lone wolf, Tom. I should stop
There you go.
demonizing him.
There you go. Yeah. Nah, don't worry. He'll get like 5 years. Meanwhile, Stephen
And a good
Avery
book
is
deal.
falsely imprisoned for the last 20 years, but whatever. Hashtag free Stephen Avery. At least 5 people are dead in 2 different parishes in Louisiana as law enforcement officers search for the suspected gunman. Again, they found him. The victims of the Livingston, which is where the killings were
By the
identified
way, I hesitate to point this out, but there is a certain amount of irony of dying in a parish.
Kind of.
It's literally called a parish.
Kind of, yeah. Bad Austin.
No, I feel bad about myself.
And now, as you feel bad, and I want you to sit back and think about it as I read the names of the fallen. Okay. Billy Ernest, 43 years old, Tanner Ernest, 17, and Summer Ernest, 20. The 2 victims found in Gonzalez's were identified as a husband and wife, Keith and Elizabeth Therio, both 50 years old. So he killed his parents. And then he killed 3 random people too. So, but
So fucking crazy.
yeah, and no, he's a white guy, blue eyes, dirty blonde hair.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, well, this all the rest of this on the article just talks about the truck that he ran away, and then he eventually fled to Virginia. So, I just wanted to report the story. We don't really have to talk about it because we've already covered it 400 times on this show already.
Yeah, another shooting. Yeah,
Another shooting. Some people just should not have weapons available to them, but they
like
do.
Most people.
But they do.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Some people have proven that they're not fucking insane.
I know. Even so, they probably shouldn't have weapons.
Whatever. Let's move on to some more cheery. Sorry, I feel fucking
Tom,
terrible.
You're keeping us so cheery this week.
I know. I feel really bad. There's really not much you can do in this situation, but I can tell you who could change it.
Oh, who could?
People who are running for president.
Oh yeah, that's true.
All right, so
That's true.
let's strategize this, okay? Because we obviously want to hear the one thing that we're going to talk about in just a few moments. But there's others that we have to talk about as well. All right.
Oh, Tom, I'm a millennial. I cannot do delayed gratification.
It's called edging, Austin. We kind of talked about this.
Okay, so I can't do it then.
We kind of talked about this at the end of the show last week, but let's make this a little bit more official. Okay. And as this is happening, we'll start off with Kamala Harris, because as this is happening right now, as we are doing this recording, she's holding a campaign launch event right now.
Oh.
So Kamala Harris, 54 years old.
Big party?
Probably. I think she's a pretty popular centrist candidate.
All the donors there?
I think that she is probably going to be the Hillary Clinton of this election. That's my guess, at least, because she is fairly popular. At least
so I imagine
centrists.
The candidate for the people, probably the barrier to entry is like $800 a plate.
Yeah, probably. Which is actually, it's really funny because, so I'm not a big Kamala Harris fan. I know you're not. Most progressives shouldn't be. I know some are, but I think you're just mistaken, because some of her policies do lean toward the progressive side. But don't be mistaken. You got to read between the lines.
Some of them are pretty fucking crazy, too.
I know. On her Instagram page, she posted like 2 or 3 things that she's promised you she's not going to do. And one of them says
she's using Instagram now.
Yeah, I know. One of them says not accept donations from corporations and politicians and
I believe she said corporate PAC money.
Corporate PAC money, yeah.
Nothing wrong with corporate money.
No. Yeah, because a week ago she was in Wall Street. Just wanted to make sure people remember that she went to visit Wall Street.
That's in my backyard.
Yeah, it is.
But I rarely go down there because they don't like my kind.
No.
In so many different
Hispanic?
ways.
Oh, okay. It's a lot of white people over there, is what I'm saying. So she's running for president. And like I said, she's actually holding a campaign launch event right now to make it official. Other people running. Julian Castro, 44 years old, of Texas. What city again? San Antonio?
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Mayor of San Antonio, I believe you said.
Yep.
Fairly, from what I can tell, from my... Again, all of the things I'm about to say are from just a preliminary, almost fuck that word up, research that I've done on these candidates. Julian Castro, fairly progressive. He has a lot of ideas that fall in the line of other progressives. But it's a long shot. We could be completely honest. It's a long shot.
Yeah.
Next on the list here, Tulsi Gabbard. I have a love-hate with her as well. There's a lot of things that I really do like about Tulsi Gabbard. And there's things I don't like about Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, that make you pause in your tracks and go,
She's the candidate
Weird.
that I'll give credit to, because she's actively changed a lot of her stances. And she's
but
not just
so much her foreign policy, and that really worries me.
And you can talk about that in a second, but let me talk about socially, because she at first I watched some things, like some interviews that she had when she was up and coming, and her attitude toward the LGBT community was not really good. It was actually very concerning. But since then, she's actually helped that community grow, and she's passed legislation that has benefited them.
And to be fair, I know what it's like to grow up conservative.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I don't blame her for that.
No.
There's not a whole lot you can do about it.
I don't know much about her foreign policy, and you seem to have a little bit of grasp on it. So go ahead and explain her foreign policy and what's wrong with it.
Well, she has sidled up to certain right-wing political groups in the Middle East.
Oh,
she's visited the dictator in Syria.
Great.
And she has been somewhat pro-torture, which...
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird. Huh. Yeah.
But again,
that's really weird. Okay.
Well, I mean, she did serve. So
She did. She did. So you think that has an effect on that?
It might. I don't know. Because, not everybody who served. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of soldiers who have served are more explicitly against torture than people who haven't. So sometimes it doesn't have that effect. So I'm not sure. And again, it is a preliminary reading of her foreign policy, but there are some troubling things there that make you kind of go, I don't know what's going on there.
You know, for me, Austin, I'd like to look at candidates from the beginning of their political career till now. You know, which is why I fell in love with Bernie Sanders. Bernie has been speaking the same message forever. He hasn't changed. He's always been for the people in one way or another. I worry. I get worried.
You doth protest too much. We all know it's because he's sexy.
Okay.
Who doesn't want a 70-year-old man in an ill-fitting jacket? Or 78 or whatever he is now.
77, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, I worry. I'm a little worried about Gabbard because of the early political. Like it reminds me a lot of Hillary. Hillary from 2016 is not the same Hillary, at least verbally, that was in the 80s and 90s. You know, and that worries me a little bit. I worry about politicians like that who are willing to change to get votes. Is that what she did, or did she actually change? You know what I mean?
That's the problem with people in public life. It's like you don't know if they change because it was politically expedient or they change because they really had to change a heart.
People can change. I've changed my opinion on legalization of marijuana drastically from when I was a kid. For some reason, I had a very conservative viewpoint on the legalization of marijuana when I was a 14, 15-year-old kid. And that drastically changed over my life. You can change.
Oh, yeah.
But when it's a public figure, I worry if she's doing it for the right reason or not. Like Hillary, I never believed that she did that for the right reason. I never believed that she went back on her word from saying that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Well, the thing is that I personally, I actually believe that she always thought it was okay, but she didn't think it was politically okay to say that. Okay. And I find that more troubling.
Really?
Like,
oh, really?
Yes, because I personally understand being able to change your beliefs.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I get that, and when you do, it is a change, and it's a permanent change.
Right,
it doesn't waver.
Right,
but believing something all along and not having the courage to stand up for it—that is actually more frightening.
I can see why,
because that means you could just go, well, it doesn't really matter what I believe.
Because then you get people like AOC, right? Who from the very beginning has been saying, no, I don't care what people think. I'm a democratic socialist. Saying that one word right there, it's like, whoa, that's not still to today, it's a little bit more accepted, but it's not the standard. People just don't go around saying, hey, I'm a socialist. You just don't do that. But she did.
Excuse me, Tom, you want socialism? Okay.
Venezuela.
I have a counter argument for you. Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yeah. Yeah. Spelled V-E-N Venezuela.
No. I have an example of a failed democracy, America. But
what?
Yeah, there you go. So that's the third person. That's
why I want to make it great again.
Former Representative John Delaney, 55 of Maryland, oddly enough, has entered that race.
Okay.
I almost feel like that's going to be the Martin O'Malley of this group. Like it's I don't know anything about his.
Wait, hold on, Tom. The audience is still asking who that is.
Yeah. Martin O'Malley ran against Bernie and Hillary. People seem to forget that he was also there. He was also there in the three.
He was there every once in a while when the camera panned left.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. There was a debate where he was there, and I watched the entire thing for a school project, and I didn't know he was there.
Then it's like,
I thought
you saw Joe Biden's empty podium more than you saw Martin O'Malley.
Yeah, totally did. It was crazy. It was wild. I'll never forget that because they showed him, and I thought he was just like a viewer. Like somebody in the stands, like just in standing room only or something. And then he spoke.
Do you remember how hard the media was campaigning for Joe Biden to join the race?
Not really, no.
Oh, it was crazy for like a week, and then they gave up on it.
Yeah,
but it was like, okay, Hillary, here's this question, and how do you think Joe Biden would respond?
Was this before Bernie gained traction? Because at first, Bernie's you got to remember, Bernie's campaign launched in front of like 10 people.
Yeah, but by the time they got to that first debate, because remember, the Republicans had like 432 debates before the Democrats had one.
They did, which is so stupid.
Yeah,
so,
and by the time they got to that debate, I think Bernie actually had some traction.
Yeah, and it's going to be different this time around because Hillary's not there, and I don't know what the power
is she? We don't know.
Please stop. The next one on the list, former congressional candidate Richard Ojeda. You help me with the pronunciation.
I know who you're talking about, yeah.
Ojeda.
Yeah.
Ojeda?
He was the guy from West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. But however,
that was a former Trump supporter and then switched to being progressive when he ran in the last midterms, but lost.
Okay.
Then declared for president and then
dropped out January 25th. So then another one that Austin and I talked about before show, but which we had no idea who he was. Businessman Andrew Yang, 44 of New York. So we had no idea, and we are like, oh great, this is the Mark Cuban, if you will, the counter to the Trump businessman, right?
Yeah.
But we looked at Andrew Yang, pleasantly surprised, by the way. First of all,
a lot of things. I still have questions about.
Of course,
a lot of things,
yeah.
ahead.
But
Go
from
through his
just
platform.
looking, if you go to his website, he has the one thing I love about his website is he has listed everything and his stance on it, which is cool to a nerd like me who wants to know everything about him. He is a capitalist, obviously. He's a fucking businessman. Venture of America or something like that is his business.
Yeah.
Multi-millionaire, probably. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but
I don't think he's a billionaire, but who knows? He could be.
But yeah, a lot of his stances, Austin, were fairly progressive. Oddly, because I never heard of him before.
Yeah.
But he's a candidate that you could take a look at and see. The next are still in their early stages; they haven't yet announced. Kirsten Gillibrand of New York. How do you feel
Formed
about
an exploratory committee.
Yeah,
but
exploratory.
That's pretty much announcing, to be honest.
Kind of. Yeah, I guess so.
It pretty much is. I mean,
What do you think about Gillibrand?
I like some of her policy positions. I don't know.
If you notice,
I actually think she's better than Harris, but
okay, she's still
not very exciting to me.
Yeah,
I find Warren much more exciting.
and
than her,
that was the
than
next
she,
one.
rather. Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren's next on the list. 69
As
years
long
old.
as she doesn't do any
Massachusetts.
more of that, like
Well, she will.
fake,
She will.
Let's get to know you stuff.
She
Yeah.
will. She's awkward
I
and
know.
cringy, and she's going to do it again. But up till the announcement that's coming up in about 5 minutes, she was the one
What is it?
she was the one that I was going to fully support. And I know, again, there's progressives that are like, I don't care. I like Liz. I really do. I don't think she has a chance at winning. I don't think she's popular at all in this country. I don't think she was going to stand a chance.
Yeah, and I don't think she has the public relations ability to build up her brand.
No. Like, I would even at least with her name, she was more known.
Because honestly, I think she would do much better if she just acted like the angry, consumer rights crusader that she is.
She should.
Rather than trying to be like everybody's friend. It's like, I don't want you to be my fucking friend. I want you to be the president.
Yeah,
I want you to put a bunch of Wall Street morons in jail. That's what I want you to do.
On Instagram ever again.
Yeah,
Don't
please
do
don't.
that ever
Please
again.
don't.
Please. I don't want to see that.
And if you, for some reason, make the horrible mistake of doing that again, please don't drink a Michelob Ultra.
I know. It's ridiculous. Tulsi Gabbard is 37. The tied for the youngest in the race is a mayor of South Bend, Indiana, who Austin just introduced the name to me today. Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg. I have no idea how to pronounce this name. Buttigieg. So for anybody who wants to look him up. Buting? No.
I think so. Yeah.
Stop it. Anyway, no chance of winning. I'm telling you right now. But progressive. Bernie Sanders supporting.
From what we can tell. Yeah.
Huh?
From what we can tell, he's fairly progressive.
Right.
Yeah.
And in a state, especially a state like Indiana, where it's had its controversies with the LGBT community, he's openly gay. I would be excited any other time, but I'm not.
No.
No. Do you know why?
I think I'm ready to go. Come on.
Because
Say it.
Bernie Sanders has announced that he is going to be running for president.
Yes.
Sort of.
No. Yes.
Sort of. So all sources close to Sanders say that he is preparing to announce his his run for president. It has not been announced as of the recording of the show, and since the show's probably going to come up tomorrow, I highly doubt it's going to happen today, but it might happen tomorrow. It might happen on the day this is released. So if it does happen, yay! But listen, let's talk about this for a couple minutes, okay? How excited are you on a scale 1 to 10?
Oh, at least a 27, which is the contribution I'll be giving to him.
I knew it. I love it. So I got this news, and I instantly texted you, and I was like, oh my God. It's happening. Now, granted, we knew it was going to happen. We both said on air many times before that this is going to happen, but it was still.
You know what though? I'm after the last couple weeks, I wasn't so sure.
I know, but apparently his circle, his inner circle, was saying that he was not going to do an announcement until the government reopened. It was like a thing,
Smart.
like, hey, I'm not going to announce while everyone else is having trouble feeding their families right now. I'm not going to announce that I'm running for president, and then
Kamala Harris
and others.
Kristen Gillibrand. Oh man, my throat is scratchy today with citrus.
Glass of water.
Yeah.
But this is really exciting news. I am very, very happy that this is going to be happening.
By the way, that was refreshing. I call that T the 70% tax on people who make over $10 million. It's a long name. I don't know if it'll catch on.
It won't. It won't. Now, with the current, there's going to be more people entering this race. Let's make it clear that Cory Booker still hasn't announced. Joe Biden is still on the fence. We're not sure what he's going to be doing.
I'm not sure he is because I keep reading negative press about him.
Me too, but he might still because who knows. It's his best chance. If he waits any longer, he's not going to have any chance at all.
And look, if he does, I think it would be great because he always comes up with the best sound bites because he says the dumbest shit.
I'm hoping he does for really bad reasons.
Yeah, to fracture the centrist vote.
Exactly. Because Kamala Harris is, in my opinion, from looking at this list of people, she is the one that is going to attract the most centrist vote. She is, not talking about policy, I'm just talking about in comparison to 2016. She is the Hillary Clinton of this election as of now. And Bernie Sanders is the Bernie Sanders of the election for 2016. So all the progressives who had a boner for Gabbard and Warren are now extremely erect with Bernie's announcement.
Like how this is the metric we're using.
So I fully expect him to get all of that support back. Other than Twitter, which Twitter for some reason is full of centrists, evidently. Everyone in this country is very excited that this is happening.
Everyone, I've heard so many. Wait a second. Are we talking about me?
No.
All right, then I'm going back to eating McDonald's.
Yeah, please do. Eat as much as you want.
I'm going to invite all of the professional sports players who won the college games, all the professional sports players who won the college games. Come over. You can have all the McDonald's you want.
Oh, yeah.
All of it you want.
Oh, God, it was so stupid.
Yeah, Mr. President, the government's reopened. You can just get the cooks to work. They don't even know how to make a good Big Mac.
I built the
They're so
McDonald's
horrible.
in my kitchen.
Yeah. I have a 16-year-old kid from Nicaragua working there.
Yeah. I want to say this. And this is why I'm very excited about Bernie Sanders, not just because of policies. We talked about that for 2 straight years. But
Yep. Everybody knows. Come
in
on. It's the good part.
2018, just a couple of months ago, this poll came out showing that Bernie Sanders is still the most popular senator in America. This isn't based off of how he won his election. It's based off of public view of each senator. And Bernie Sanders with a 63% approval rating and a 30% disapproval rating with still 10% unsure is by far the most popular senator in this country. People love him.
Yeah.
He has, whether centrists will agree or not, he has the best chance to beat Donald Trump.
Boo. He's not even a Democrat, Tom.
Yeah, which is what their big beef is, apparently. Like, I guess if we have to pick something, it's going to be that, right?
Yeah. He's not a Democrat, Tom. Oh, and may I mention Venezuela?
No, Venezuela.
Have I mentioned it yet? Venezuela?
You have, yeah. Now, Kamala Harris.
Argument done.
Kamala Harris is 44% approval rating, 30% disapproval, 26% unsure.
Yeah, but Tom, she's a Democrat. Okay?
She is a Democrat, yeah.
She's a Democrat, and so is Joe Manchin. All great people.
Yeah.
And
what is Joe Manchin's
Venezuela.
approval rating? Let me see.
Argument settled.
Joe Manchin's
Done.
approval rating is a 44%, so that's
Boom.
That's
Drop the
concerning.
Twitter, Mike.
But it is important to mention that he is the most popular candidate. And I want Booker to join now. Now I want him more than ever, because if you have him and you have Biden and Kamala Harris and Gillibrand, they're going to fight for that centrist vote. Meanwhile, I don't know how much of a draw Gabbard's going to have. Unfortunately for her,
it's going to be minuscule, I think.
I think so too. She is a Hindu, and I don't think this country is ready for that. I don't care. I know you don't care, but this country had a problem with Bernie being Jewish. you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And Elizabeth Warren just is not that popular. So I think the progressive vote is going to heavily go to Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And this, very interesting. So I don't know.
Except that he can't win, Tom, because if I mentioned in the past 5 minutes,
he's not
Venezuela.
A Democrat. Oh, and he's not a Democrat.
Yeah. And he's not a Democrat. Exactly.
So that's obviously the best news that we've been hoping for a long time.
Hey, by the way, what is the biggest political affiliation in this country?
The biggest political affiliation? Mm-hmm. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm sorry.
Are they? Is it Republicans? Like, are the majority of voters Republican?
No, never.
Are the majority of voters Democrats?
I believe they are.
Oh, actually, they're not. They're independents. Is the
Independences?
Biggest.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or unaffiliated. Is the biggest voting bloc in America.
Well,
weird.
I do expect.
Who else polls highly with independence? Venezuela, of course.
Venezuela, yeah.
Yeah.
I do expect. I don't know. You know what? Never mind. I'm just gonna be very happy about this. I'm just gonna be happy about this.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what's gonna happen.
Before we move on, speaking of Venezuela,
yeah.
Did anybody else notice that in the past week the United States is trying to perform a coup in Venezuela?
Yeah.
By backing the opposition leader. Now, granted, Maduro is a horrible president. He's done horrible things, and he probably should be ousted. But a U.S.-backed coup
never
is
works.
not a good idea.
It never fucking works, ever.
Yeah.
It works for a little bit, and then it always turns to shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, just think of some of the countries that we've helped, quote unquote. Iraq is a prime example.
And I think it's no mistake that we're backing the opposition leader who's friendly to the U.S. because Venezuela has the largest amount of oil reserve in the world.
In the world, yeah.
In the world.
I also wanted to make one more side mention. It's actually kind of important news, but we don't have to talk about it for too long. The House Oversight Committee has added Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and 3 other progressives to its ranks.
What?
Yeah. One of them is actually Ro Khanna as well. That's, secretly, that's actually kind of a big deal. So Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, and Ro Khanna of California. Those are the 4 progressives that have joined the Oversight Committee. So kind of cool little news to add and to end our pretty good ending. Hashtag Bernie 2020.
Hashtag Venezuela duh.
I'm leaving this meeting. Let's take a much needed break, and like I said, we have nothing else, so it's the only break, unless Austin does something in between. I don't listen to the show, and we'll come back with our final thoughts. Smile. And so ends our big dumb show.
Yep.
Oh, dear Austin, what are your final thoughts?
Oh, well, I am just so excited that Bernie's running.
Good.
I think he's running.
If he doesn't,
I'm pretty sure he's going to run.
If he doesn't, I might not want to do the show anymore.
And I'm going to be very mad at the Huffington Post, who we've cited several times today.
I did.
And if they got this wrong, I'm going to be very mad.
Well, it wasn't just them. I mean, it was everybody's saying that it's going to happen. But if it doesn't...
Everybody's saying it.
If it doesn't, I will be a little upset.
Yeah.
Like, when I say a little upset, I mean, I might just not want to ever talk about politics again. Because for the first time, Austin, I feel like I have hope. Because, like, Bernie started from nothing. And I personally don't think the Harris is going to win. I don't think she's popular enough. She's becoming more popular, but Bernie started from nothing in 2016. And he built his way almost to defeating what seemed to be an impossible thing, almost defeated Hillary Clinton. And since then, he's only gotten more popular. And if anybody thinks that his wife's university scandal, quote unquote, or this sexual...
Well, that's over, by the way.
I know. And nothing really came of it.
No, they said there was no findings.
Yeah,
that they were thinking about censoring the people who started the investigation.
And if people think that or the sexual abuse scandal, which Bernie handled brilliantly, I think.
I think he handled it well, yeah.
If people think that that's going to be a detriment to his campaign and he's not going to win because of that, you're crazy. You're crazy.
No.
That's
well,
nothing.
The thing is, it annoys me too because Hillary had an instance of sexual abuse, not personally,
right,
but one of somebody who worked for her.
Pizzagate happened underneath her.
Shut up, Tom. but somebody who worked for her did sexually harass somebody else who worked for her.
No, it did,
and that person wasn't fired.
No.
It was just relocated.
Moved.
It's
Yeah,
like,
we
what?
talked about that.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
But that goes fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
we
that's
still want Hillary. Despite those things, and that's why
I don't even care, because if she does run again, please don't. But if she does and she wins, I'll vote for her again. I don't particularly want to.
Yeah, if she does, though, I think it's an easy Trump win.
Oh, I think so too.
I think Democrats are just going to vote for him out of spite at that point.
Yeah.
It's silly to think that, but people do not like Hillary Clinton. People like Kamala Harris. I'm not saying they don't, but I don't think I don't think she's popular enough.
Some people like Kamala. I mean, the thing with Kamala Harris, I think the thing that she's going to struggle with the most is that outside of people who are really engaged in politics, she doesn't have much name recognition.
No.
And her policies aren't that exciting, so she's not going to excite a base of people around her.
Exactly, like Bernie's that revolution that Bernie started.
No.
It's still going on.
He knew that it was an election of change.
Sure, and guess what? That revolution is stronger than it ever was. It hasn't died down. People in that revolution got elected into office.
No. And the thing is, like, Kamala Harris, I don't think has the name recognition to be the presumptive favorite.
I agree.
And there's a chance that, like since all the Democratic primaries are closed, or not all of them, but a lot of them are, that Bernie could struggle because these party cult members are insane.
It is true. There's always going to be that.
So I think that at the moment, Elizabeth Warren actually has the best chance of winning.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Well, she has the most name recognition. And really in American
Other than
name
Bernie
recognition.
Sanders.
Yeah,
Bernie Sanders is a household name in anybody who knows politics.
Well, yeah.
Elizabeth Warren is not.
Besides him, she has the best chance of winning.
In the current field, I agree.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that if
it's true. We don't know who else is going to declare.
Which is why I think if Joe Biden does decide to run, he's going to put a dent in a lot of that because
that would change everything.
Yeah. So we have to see who else. Cory Booker is not a household name. Democrats know him. People who study
honestly,
politics
he might
know.
be more of a household name than Kamala Harris.
You think so? Well, maybe. Yeah. Possibly.
Well, he gave those two big speeches at the DNC. Well, one big speech at the DNC.
I think that I would almost put them almost in the same class. I actually personally would give Kamala Harris a little bit more. I think people seem to like her. They were very quick to jump on her bandwagon. The centrists.
The party was, yeah.
Yeah, the centrists were very quick.
But these are people who just sit around watching MSNBC all day.
Exactly.
I'm talking about people who watch no news.
Yeah, well,
because the president has said Cory Booker's name
several times,
has made several disparaging comments about Elizabeth Warren. They are in the public conversation.
That's true. Okay, I'll give you that. I didn't think about that aspect, but you're right. You're right. But I still think that it comes down to the fact that Bernie Sanders is the most popular candidate. I think people now know who he is. The people who in 2016 didn't know who he was now know who he is because he
also has pretty. Really, actually, good favorability rating among African Americans and the Latino community.
Exactly.
Which he didn't have the first time he ran.
I think he's pretty popular among women and even moderate Republicans. I've spoken to so many moderate Republicans who did not want to vote for Trump but hated Hillary too much that said that they would vote for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's just there's just facts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be now that Bernie has not again officially announced it, but now that he is in the mix, I am very excited about this political season. This year is going to be wild and crazy.
And here's the thing, let's have a primary and debate about these topics, and then whoever is the candidate at the end, I'll support.
I'm just scared of how fair this is going to be because I'm still worried. Tom Perez
a couple things have changed that I think make it much better than last time.
Okay.
So one, the superdelegates don't have as much power, and there's a lot less
which is fantastic, by the way. That's such a great move.
Honestly, the whole thing about the superdelegates was they personally still didn't have that much power.
Right.
It was the way that it was reported, where they would add the superdelegates to every outcome that made the difference, even though those superdelegates hadn't voted yet, because they don't vote to the convention. But they would say things like, okay, so we had, the New Hampshire primary, and Bernie won, 70% of the vote.
Right.
But
lost superdelegates or something like that.
Or in the end, they ended up even because of superdelegates.
Right.
But the superdelegates didn't vote.
I also have to say this, while we're on that topic with the superdelegates and just all that, at that point, sorry, Martin, you don't get anything. It was just Bernie and Hillary, by the way.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Now,
and the thing is,
there's a lot.
Bernie would have won the Iowa caucus if it weren't for, I believe it was Martin O'Malley.
Right. But
because he didn't get enough to qualify to keep his points.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So they went to Hillary.
Gotcha. I do think that the advantage that Bernie might have here is that there's a bunch of centrists that are going to be fighting for position.
Yeah.
But
not only that, so
more people
apart from the
that can vote,
superdelegates, there's also California is now moved up so they're not at the end of the primary process anymore.
Oh, that changes a lot.
So now, what is it, like Super Tuesday or whatever they call it, stupid fucking thing, isn't just all these southern conservative states.
Right.
It is now
how does that
also California.
I wonder what that's going to happen, though, how that's going to work, because Kamala's from California.
True. But California tends to vote more liberal.
They do, but do they vote with the familiar name? I mean, both would be familiar at that point, but
that's the thing. I don't
California would be interesting. I didn't really think about that. That's a big factor.
Yeah. So California is now matters, where before it was like literally the last state.
But I actually
really
think that Bernie Sanders has a good chance at those southern states. Because I remember looking at some of the polls of like him versus Trump, and he would have won some states down there. If the polls were accurate, by the way, which, we could talk about that another day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the southern states are actually, because I think they're part of the draw of Bernie Sanders, is he appeals to the people who don't really have that much money because they know he's the candidate that can fix that or at least help it.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. This time next year is going to be really, really something.
But I'm going to warn the audience right now. This week we talked a lot about 2020, the presidential election. It's not going to happen every week.
No.
Because there's shit that happens in this country besides who's running for president.
And that's an important part, but not right now.
And trust me, you want all the 2020 coverage, plenty of places will give it to you.
Oh, yeah. And we'll cover...
That's all they're going to talk about on CNN and MSNBC for the next 2 years.
When new candidates enter the race, we'll briefly talk about that. That's something that we should keep everybody updated. And Republicans, if any Republicans decide to run against Trump, we're definitely going to have to talk about that because that's going to be really important. But
I'm just saying, don't get used to it because this isn't like the beginning of horse race coverage.
No. This is just an exciting moment in the political season that we had to talk about as a show that was founded because of our admiration of Bernie Sanders. I think we had to cover this, and we'll probably cover it one more time when he makes it official, just not this drawn out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it. That's all I got.
I think that's good.
No.
I got nothing. Next week we'll return to a more normal format. We'll have we'll try to get a guest. We'll see how that works. Next month, we'll get Kevin back, we'll get Steven back. We'll have all that good stuff. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed these last couple of weeks. We'll get back into the real grind starting next week.
All right. Sounds good, Tom.
All right. Hey, pre-recorded Tom, how you doing? I never asked you how you doing. Probably well. You were really drunk.
I don't remember how you were doing that day.
Yeah, I was really drunk that night.
Okay, there you go.
Go ahead, finish up the show for us, man. Thanks. Have a good night.
Sounds good.
Once again, thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find us on Spreaker.com/DumbleOverPod. We're also available on iTunes. Just look up DumbleOverPod. We are on all the social medias, starting with Twitter @DumbleOverPod, Facebook @DumbleOverPod, and of course, there's Instagram. And you guessed it, it's @DumbleOverPod. We are also on Patreon, so check out our Patreon at patreon.com/DumbleOverPod. And if you're interested in buying some merch with some special logos, you can check that out at tpublic.com/user/DumbleOverPod. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.